This is a big room. I can see people further than my decrepit old eyes can see, so I know you can be a lot louder than that. Good afternoon, New York City. You're here for the DC New 52 panel, correct? Okay, a couple of quick notes first. If you've been paying attention, you know we're breaking a lot of big news here this weekend, and the best way to keep up with it is following us through social media, of course. The details have been up here on the screen. If you're interested, you've got it already. If not, we're going to move on to the next slide. If you've been reading our books through the year, you've seen us doing a lot of promotion for our We Can Be Heroes campaign, where we're using the Justice League to try to fight the debilitating hunger crisis in the Horn of Africa. We've made it very, very easy for you to help. All you have to do is text HEROES to 80888. That will enable you to give a $10 donation that DC Entertainment will match 100%. There are hundreds of thousands of people over the world who've donated already. If some of you are in the room, we thank you. And if you're some of those who will donate after the panel is over, we thank you for that as well. All right, let's go. New 52 time. Introduce to you now the enormous group of guests we have up here. It looks almost as big as the rest of the crowd, not quite. To my immediate stage left, we have from Batman, Mr. Greg Capullo.
That's it, that's New York right there.
Next to Greg, from Animal Man, Justice League Dark, and 1,000 other works, it's Jeff Lemire. Representing All-Star Western is the illustrator Mortai. To his left, the writer of Legion of Superheroes, Mr. Paul Levitz. Next to Paul, the writer of Suicide Squad, Mr. Adam Glass. From iVampire, Mr. Josh Fialkov. Next to Josh, from Team 7 and Deathstroke, greet Justin Jordan. Next to Justin, from the pages of Ravagers, is Mr. Howard Mackey. The illustrator of Demon Knights, Mr. Bernard Chang. Next to Bernard, the writer of Amethyst and Sword of Sorcery is Christy Marks. And next to Christy from Green Lantern New Guardians, it's Aaron Cooter. I was going to just about say that right. Aaron Cooter. A big round of applause for Aaron since I put this back correctly. Thank you. And in the back row, the people who keep the trains running on time from the editorial group who will be coming up to contribute, not just sitting there and judging others, Ms. Bobby Chase, Bob Harris, and Eddie Berganza. Okay, first up, first slide that's going to come up is a book that we just announced when we were in Toronto, and that is Justice League of America, which is going to be in 2014. Mr. Bob Harris is going to come up and tell you all about it.
How you doing, everybody? You can see this is an awesome piece of art. It's Jeff Johns, David Finch coming together. New book, Justice League of America, in February. It is, I gotta tell you, I've read the script. I've seen some of the designs that David is coming up with. It's an amazing book. If Justice League of America is the world's greatest superheroes, we're kind of saying Justice League of America is the world's most dangerous superheroes. And there's going to be a very specific reason, why this team is coming together. It's going to be a very specific reason this group of rather odd assortment of heroes comes together. They all come with an agenda. They all come with a reason. Some people aren't happy to be in the book or the team, but the dynamics will generate a lot of story. The formation of this team will have a big impact in DCU. And I don't want to say too much more because there's a panel about the Justice League titles later today, where I think Jeff will tell you more, but this is an awesome launch that we're very excited about. I hope you are. It's in the spirit of the New 52. It's got a lot of energy, and more important than that, it's going to impact the whole line. So I hope you're looking forward to it.
Okay, next up, this is the cover for Superman, and we're now into the Hell on Earth event. Mr. Eddie Berganza is going to come up and talk about that with you. All by yourself.
Okay, as you can see, Superman's going to be running into some problems, and he's going to ask for some help from some of his friends. It seems these Justice League guys are going to be appearing in a lot of places, and here, combating the new foe that we have, someone, you know, on par with Doomsday, named Hell. Nice name, right? He's going to be challenging Superman and actually taking over his house. He kicks him out of the fortress, and the only way to get back in is with the help of the Justice League and someone else that I won't tell you about. Do we have another slide? Yeah, there we go. All right. As you've seen in the New 52, the Superman family is not warm and cuddly. They're more like your family, where you get together at Thanksgiving and kind of fight. And that's what we have. With Kara is not thrilled with the things that Kal has done, and in this issue that you'll be seeing very soon at the end of this month, 13, something else is back from Krypton. And Kara is kind of saying to Superman, so what, you told me the planet went away, what's going on? So with Scott Lobdell and Ken Rocafort, they're doing some really cool things. Like I said, creating a whole new mythology as far as threats that are going to be coming up. And one thing that Bob Harris actually didn't want us to do, so, you know, we're going to do it. And I hope you guys like it. All right? Thank you.
Next slide. So does that mean everyone in this room went out on Wednesday and bought Batman 13? You did? Wow, we didn't know that. Hey, because you all did, I have a surprise for you. Making a brief drop-in appearance to talk with Greg about Death of the Family, it's Mr. Scott Snyder.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks. We were really overwhelmed by the response to the issue. It's a story we've been working on for a long time, me and Greg, and we've been thinking about it all year long. And all I can say about it is that this really is the biggest, craziest Joker story we could do, where he's not just there to sort of be nutty and violent. He has a really specific mission, and his feeling is essentially that he could have picked anywhere in the DCU to be a villain. He could have been the court jester in Metropolis and taken on Superman. He could have been in Coast City. He could have been anywhere, but he chose Batman because he was his Bat King, and he thinks he's the greatest sort of king he could possibly have, and he thinks he served him well over the years, right? He says, look at all the amazing things I've done for you to make you stronger. My job is to keep you sharp, to keep you strong, and so I bring the terrible news of the kingdom to you the way a court jester would to his king, a lot of the time telling him the fleet is sunk or the army is gone, and he makes him laugh about it, right? But the Joker is there to say, here are the worst nightmares of your heart. I'm going to bring them to life in front of you, and because you get through them, you're stronger, so I serve you. I've been serving you for years, and you have forsaken me. You have taken on this ridiculous, sycophantic bat family around you, and it has made you weak, and it has made you slow. And that's not the king that I want. So I cut this off, and I hung it on a wall, and I went away for a year, and I planned a story that I'm coming back, right? I made these plans over that year, and I'm back to bring your whole effing world down now, because I'm angry at you, and you know in your heart you wish they were all dead too. So it really is the Joker coming back with sort of the most vicious and twisted plan he can, but it's out of love, because he loves Batman, and he loves Gotham, and he sees himself as saving a kingdom that's rotting from the inside out. So in that way, we're really putting everything we have into it, and I'm on this guy's shoulders. I mean, the stuff he comes up with not just, no, I mean it, like, you have to understand when this guy contributes to this thing. It's not just the art on the page. I call him up and I'm like, what do you think about this story beat? What do you think about this? Can you do that? And like, all the stuff that you love, it's true, dude, it's true. All the stuff that you love, you know, story-wise, has his DNA in it too. Not just the pages, not just the visual stuff. So we go back and forth. He's like my brother on this thing, and I'm honored to be working on it, but I promise we're gonna deliver to you the biggest, baddest Joker story we possibly could, and there'll be massive repercussions in the Bat family as well. And I know you guys are all worried about Alfred. I keep getting these tweets that are like, don't kill Alfred, don't kill Alfred. And, you know, and then when it was the owls, everyone was like, don't make Alfred an owl, don't make... But it's very touching that you guys love Alfred so much, so we're trying to be as gentle as we can, even if we kill him. But we won't. But maybe we will. Maybe we will.
I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with, you know, me. I know you're familiar with my name and stuff like that, but my personality and what I'm about and stuff like that. And I'm not like a BS artist and you know, push the media, run the media, you know, honk the horns and all that stuff. If I think something's stinky, I'm not going to tell you that it's good. You know, I'm always straight shooter to tell you what it is. So you know, I'm not a hyper machine. So if I tell you something's awesome, you know, I really believe that it is. Do you think that the Joker story that you read so far was scary? Make some noise if you thought it was scary. That's great to hear. Now, I gotta tell you, I've been doing this stuff for a long time, and worked with different writers and everything, and a lot of different stories. And so, you know, when you've done all that, just like you've read so many comics, you kind of get jaded a little bit, you know, so it takes a little bit something special to get an emotional response out of you. And when I get Scott's scripts in the email, I even took a few pictures of myself reading them and tweeted them, because I realized that my face contorts in all these different manners, you know, because I'm reacting to what I'm reading. You know, one minute I'm feeling scared, next minute I'm feeling pissed off, you know, and wow, that really booms when you get pissed off. Anyway, you know, really, you know, grabbing me by the throat, you know. One minute I'm like a tear in my eye. And so, you know, I call my wife over to read the stuff, because she's not a reader of comic books, but she's a fan of us and stuff, and I let her read some stuff, and she was like, oh my God, and tears were welling up in her eyes, and you go, okay, there's a person who doesn't read comic books. Here's a guy who's been drawing comic books for a long time and is somewhat jaded, and I'm confident that if it's getting this kind of a visceral response from me, that when you guys crack the pages, your pulse is gonna pound worse than mine, faster than mine. You've got some really great stuff coming to you, you know, and I'd like to just point something out. You know, obviously I don't work for Marvel Comics, and many people think that Scott and I work for DC Comics. We're employed by DC Comics, but we work for you, and so our ear is always listening very closely to what you want, because Scott and I, our whole goal in this, it's not to make him a big shot or me a big shot. It's about giving you the best, most badass Batman stories that you want and deserve. You're laying down your money, and we want to deliver the goods. So you always let us know, and we're always going to give you what you want. We hope to always work to give you what you want. That sound like a good deal?
That's it, and just the most twisted stuff's coming up, we promise. So 13 was just like a worm.
And just, you know, family service announcement here, you know, bye Batman. That's it, I have to end everything with that. Bye Batman.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Greg. Next slide, please. Next slide is from Earth 2, and Bobby Chase is going to step up and talk about that.
Okay, this is the cover to Earth 2 number 8. And first I just want to say thank you all for the overwhelmingly positive response you've given to the Earth 2 and the New 52. We're very excited about it in all this. We're loving the stories we're seeing coming out of James Robinson and Nicholas Scott, and we've been hoping that it would translate to you guys, and so far it has, and so that's really great. This issue features two important people in the Earth 2 universe. Steppenwolf, who we haven't seen since issue 1, and the last Amazon of Earth 2, and I really can't say more than that, but I hope you'll pick it up. Yildiray is doing the interior of this issue, and just want you to know that Nicholas Scott will be back with art duties with issue 9. Okay, thanks.
Next on the big screen, Animal Man. So by the way, my panelists, here is your guideline for today as artwork from your books come up on screen and you wonder what you can say and what you can't. You were certainly free to comment about what you thought was really cool about the last few issues of your book. If your book has been around since the beginning of New 52, you have a whole year to reflect on. I spoke earlier to Alex Segura from DC Publicity. He's totally cool with you saying whatever you want to say about year 2. Because if somebody up here spoiled something for the next year of one of their books, you'd still buy it, right? Very good. No problems, Alex. All right, Jeff, under those guidelines, what are you going to say about Rot World, and Justice League Dark will follow soon, and I think there's a Swamp Thing slide up there because the whole Rot World thing smells all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who's been reading Swamp Thing and Animal Man, you know that Scott and I have been building this big story right from issue 1. Really, you know, we both got the gigs. We just started talking and sharing scripts and stuff, not really intending to do a crossover. But just the more we got into it, the more we were just helping each other out, the more we realized there was just this common ground that we could build on, and that became Rot World, and it's finally here, and it's pretty big in scope. It really does encompass the entire DC universe and a sort of dark, twisted version of the New 52 universe. And the heroes who kind of rise up in Rot World, as you saw somewhat in the issue 13s, aren't your A-list characters. It's not the Justice League, it's not the Teen Titans, it's people who have some connection to the red or the green. So you get Beast Boy and Black Orchid and Poison Ivy, and these characters who were sort of secondary before have now become the real champions of the DC universe alongside Animal Man and Swamp Thing. And this cover, I think, is number 15. And we can see that a Green Lantern is headed our way. And as to which Green Lantern that is, I'm not going to spoil it, other than it's not Hal Jordan or John Stewart or Guy Gardner, or anyone else you've seen yet in New 52. But it's pretty cool, and it's a really fun character to write. Yeah, I mean...
Next slide.
And you have to buy it. Buy Batman. This is Trevor McCarthy did a really cool cover for Dark. Yeah, where were we at? Issue 13 just came out. So the annual's coming out next, and the annual I think is the best issue definitely I've written of the book. Frankenstein joins the team. Amethyst shows up for a little while. iVampire, Andrew Bennett comes back. So it's sort of a big blockbuster fight between the Dark team and all the villains we've seen so far. And then coming out of that, without spoiling too much, my good friend and a really talented cartoonist and writer, Ray Fox, is joining me as co-writer on Justice League Dark. Ray and I are going to do a story called The Death of Magic, which it is really tough to talk about without spoiling the end of the Books of Magic storyline, but it's going to see our team drastically changed, and we kind of learn the fate of Timothy Hunter, and it's going to sort of set the new status quo for the group, and I can't say much more about it without spoiling too much there.
And as I said, speaking of Rot World,
And I'll talk about Swamp Thing. It's not quite as good as Animal Man, but it's all right. Yeah, that's Man Bat, but it's not the Man Bat you all know. It's actually a different bat that you do know. Maybe a bat that has her own comic at the moment. So that's a little teaser.
all right, that's what I'd like to hear. Good job, Jeff. Thank you. All right, next up. The upcoming cover of All-Star Western, which in a lot of ways seems like one of the more fun books that we've done in the New 52, so maybe that can be Ortot. How much fun is it? Is it as much fun to work on this book as it is to see the pages come in?
Yes. Thank you everybody for coming out and attending the panel. This is the first time I've seen the cover. It's Walt Simonson. I'm sorry, I'm kind of geeking out being a fan.
I should. So should I talk about what's coming up for the next year?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, it looks like Jonah Hex has his leg broken. There's a young lady in the background there. I don't know who that is. Starting with, I think it's issue 16. Jonah Hex is going back to the future. What is it? 2050? Yeah, Hex. And he's going to be teaming up with Adam Strange for a while.
All right.
Anything else?
No.
Is that too much?
No, you got the whistle
Did I
and the
have to say
ooze. We
that?
love that. No, I told you, everything is allowable on this stage today. Next up, next slide. Well, when you're talking about year 2 of Legion, I'm not sure what year you're really talking about, but use that as a parameter, Paul.
You know, the future gets more and more technically complicated. We get more and more dependent on things. You read the newspaper in the morning, even now, and the government's saying we're getting cyber attacked from Iran. By 1,000 years from now, we're going to be incredibly dependent on so much stuff, which might just sort of stop working properly. And I get the fun of teaming up again with Keith Giffen, who I had an enormously successful collaboration with in the 1980s on the Legion. He's a fount of ideas. He's got all sorts of wonderful things to do to screw up the 31st century. And we're going to introduce the new DC's Fatal 5, who are somewhat different and somewhat dangerous in some new ways. And they're going to kind of screw up the whole universe. So what do you do when nothing works?
We go to the next slide. Next slide is a cover from Suicide Squad. So Adam, what kind of badassery is coming in your next year?
First of all, it's Ken Lashley's cover. It's beautiful, man. I really have to give it to him. I get these and it's like Christmas morning, you know. I look at it, I'm really blown away. It's really pretty. So Deadshot isn't dead. I know that's really surprising. Is that a big giveaway? He's coming back, and we've been setting something up since book 1 that now will start to play in, which is we've been talking about a program, the SAMHSA program, and we have collected some things along the way, including Resurrection Man's hand. And we're going to see how this all sort of starts to play into an overall plan that's been going on, and Deadshot's going to find himself at the center of this plan. And it's going to change the way the whole squad is. It's going to change the relationship with Amanda Waller, and all the things that we've been setting up all year are now starting to come into play. All the relationships, and Harley, and Deadshot, and who is King Shark, and what is he really doing there, and what's El Diablo's powers, and how do they control him. And so it's going to be fun. This is sort of like, you know, the dessert. It's the payoff for everything that we've been waiting for. So I'm excited, and someone will die. Thank you.
Next up, I believe this is the cover to iVampire issue 16. Tell us what's going on here, Josh.
So, just in case you haven't heard, these vampires do not sparkle. They do massacre, so, you know, there is that. So, what's been going on in iVampire? I don't know how many of you guys read iVampire? Thank you. The rest of you, I shame you. I shame you deeply. At the end of issue 12 of iVampire, Andrew Bennett, our long-suffering hero, finally has too much. He decides to try to wipe out all vampires on Earth and accidentally absorbs all of that evil into himself, becoming the ultimate big bad, and in fact, the first vampire. So now there's no vampires but Andrew Bennett, and he's starting to build an army, and he's out for revenge. We get to see everybody who has beaten him as a good guy now get the revenge of a massively powerful vampire who has no interest in stopping and no interest in being in the right. And out to fight him is Mary, former Queen of Blood, who is now human and just wants Andrew back. So it's still a love story. We've gotten to swap things around. DC's been very generous in letting me really screw around with the format and what we're doing. It's a lot of fun. The book is like filled with action and filled with actually jokes, and it's a fun book. So please, if you haven't tried it, give it a try.
Thank you, Josh.
That's
the origin of the Van Helsing.
All right, next up, this is the cover to Team 7, issue number 4. And Justin, what is going on here now and in the future?
Well, right in that issue, I think you could see, and I apologize because I about ran out of voice for the weekend, is that the team is going up against Eclipso, making his first full-on appearance in the DCU. And in the future, I'm going to kill everyone. Every character dies in issue 5, so that's my big spoiler. Yeah, no, what we're doing is we're trying to show, the book ad is, are you guys reading the book? The book is set 5 years before the present DCU, so you are getting to see how like Amanda Waller became the Amanda Waller you know in Suicide Squad, and how Dinah Drake became Dinah Lance and then became Black Canary, and why Grifter is the way he is, and why Deathstroke is such a jerk. So we've got a big story planned out for it. I've got a fairly massive story that ends in a big way that we're aiming towards. So you are starting to see the threads of that building up in the first few issues. I know only 2 issues are out on the stands right now, so there's not a whole heck of a lot I can say without being massively spoily. But you can see they're going up Eclipso, so the stakes aren't small. Eclipso is a world threat, so the team has their hands full.
And since he's such a nasty guy, here's the cover of Deathstroke 16.
In Deathstroke, what we're trying to do with Deathstroke is my take on the character is that Deathstroke is one of the real essential badasses in the DCU. He's a guy who, if you give him enough time, can figure a way to solve any problem. I mean, his problems tend to be, how do I kill this person? How do I overthrow a government? How do I stop this superhuman being, you know, and we're trying to get into things like that, like missions like if you were Deathstroke and you get an assassination contract on a man who literally cannot be killed, what do you do? And so that's the side of Deathstroke that I want to emphasize, is the fact that Slade Wilson is a very smart guy with a lot of experience, and I want to kind of challenge him to use more than just his superpowers going forward.
All right, thanks a lot. Here's the cover to Ravagers number 7, Howard.
Well, pretty much this is the spoiler for what happens. Caitlin loses her head. Ridge's heart is ripped out. What you don't see is right after this, Superboy loses his arm, and then the remaining Ravagers are called in by Rose and Warblade to do what they were meant to do: go out, ravage, kill the rest of the DC universe. But I promise you, Alfred dies last. But seriously, at this point, the kids are done running. The first 6 issues, they've been on the run from nowhere, and they've finally gotten themselves in a safe house with some people to train them. And there's going to be a lot more of a focus on Rose Wilson and Warblade in the book. And to see how they can all come together. And oddly enough, Superboy winds up being an odd catalyst for bringing these very disparate characters together and getting them to move forward to do something worth doing.
Great, thank you. Here's a what the heck is going on cover for Demon Knights number 15. What's going on?
How you doing, New York? It's always good to be back in New York. As you know, I'm drawing Demon Knights now. Honestly, before I started drawing the book, I never tackled the title of this genre. And for the people that are out there supporting Demon Knights, thank you very much. I'm having a blast drawing this book. So pick it up, go to the store. 13 just came out this week. As you know, Paul Cornell is going to be writing 13, 14, and 15. And the team, Demon Knights, they're trying to get to Avalon. Lucifer, with his army of demon warriors, also trying to get to Avalon. When they get to Avalon, there's another army of Shining Knights, or Silent Knights. And then we also have the Questing Queen with her horde. So I have to draw 4 armies battling each other in the next 3 issues. So Paul really has a great way of leaving the title. Next up is also Robert Venditti. I've also had a chance to meet with him. After that, through 16, we're going to be jumping 30 years in the future. Well, sounds really far ahead, but it's still way in the past. But again, Demonites is a great book. Having a lot of fun with it. I hope you guys go out there to the stores, pick it up, flip through it. It's always great to be back in New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernard. And speaking of magic and swords, here is a cover of Sword of Sorcery, and Christy's going to tell us what she's got coming to finish out her first year on the book.
All right, so Amethyst. How many of you here like stories about kick-ass women? Let's hear it. I'm so delighted, as a woman who has been reading, collecting comics my entire life, I am so delighted to see lots of women here, and I just think that's terrific. And so I hope to represent for us. With Amethyst, I tried to do a lot of very interesting character development and world building. We have here a young woman who was raised on Earth, not knowing anything about her heritage, being trained to fight, and not really understanding why she had this strange life. Her mother would take her from place to place. They'd always move. They'd always color their hair so that she barely even really knew what her real hair color was. And it was this very strange life, and then suddenly when she turns 17, her mother takes her back to this alien world, Nala, and she suddenly discovers that she's the princess of this house Amethyst, and that there are all these powers, and that she has an aunt who wants to kill her because she wants to hold all of the power of House Amethyst. And so basically these books are going to be dealing with a lot of interesting dynastic intrigue. I'm setting up a world in which power is held either by one person or can be shared, but if it's not freely shared, then all of the other relatives who can inherit this blood power want to kill the person who has the power in order to have it. And the power is very seductive. It's not an evil power, but it's a very seductive power that people want to have. And so it's going to have a little feel of this kind of Game of Thrones feel to it. It's going to be a little bit darker, a little bit edgier, but it's going to be very much about Amy Winston, this character, learning who she is, what she's supposed to be doing, learning about this whole new world, dealing with all these dynastic intrigues, all of the powerful families that say suddenly all of the power balance has shifted in this world because Amy has come back into this world. And so there's just a lot of really cool, fun stuff that I hope you're going to enjoy with this book. And this is the cover, I believe, of number 3. Excuse me, I'm losing track. I'd like to call out my fabulous artist, Aaron Lopresti, who's been doing just a fantastic job on these books. Our colorist, Brian and Christy from Hi-Fi, who are doing a fantastic job on the colors. And someone who I think rarely gets mentioned. We have a great letterer, and believe it or not, letterers are very important in comics. They actually contribute a lot to what you're seeing on the page. So I'd like to call out the entire team and my wonderful editor. And I just hope you'll hang with me on these books, because I plan to really spin out a really interesting story for you.
And this is the cover to New Guardians 16. Some badass Third Army stuff. Mr. Cooter, what's going on here?
Hi, thanks. I'm completely new to this, so that's really lovely.
Excuse me. He was an electrician with all this talent until recently. He told me this at a party. I couldn't believe my ears. All this talent, just twisting wires. Buddy's going, you should be drawn. Maybe. I said, now I feel like I have to go out and learn to be an electrician, just so that we're on even playing field. Sorry to interrupt you.
He's an electrifying artist.
If I wasn't blushing before, I'm sure that I am now. With New Guardians, a lot of things are happening. Kyle is working on creating gathering up all of the other powers of the rings and coming to a point with that. He is battling the Guardians themselves, and then the Third Army is coming in also. It's going to be a lot of things all in the next 4 or 5 issues, and yeah. But apparently we're not going to get to any of that because everybody's going to die in Suicide Squad.
So wasn't really a spoiler then. did terrific for your first time. It's all like it'll be downhill from here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have approximately 16 minutes left in this room. Our friends at Reed Pop have generously provided a microphone in the main aisle there. If you will, those of you who have questions may line up in an orderly fashion to ask your questions. One thing before we begin, as moderator of this DC panel, I have been imbued with special powers, some of which you will not see on display here today, but one of those special powers is I am allowed to award prizes for questions I deem worthy of a prize. My standards are unknowable by most people. They are only inside my own head. There will be no begging of prizes from anybody. You will be banished from the room if that happens. No pressure. First question. Yes, sir.
Is there going to be a fourth wave in January?
Is there going to be a fourth wave in January? Next question. Timing is always a question, but I think you'll see us keep coming back with new and cool books.